some place stories spread because they are true, and some spread because they feel true. One of the clearest examples is a place almost nobody agreed was real, but millions of people seemed to recognize. Anyway, the back rooms. The original idea was simple. A photograph showed an empty interior with yellowish walls, damp-looking carpet, fluorescent lighting, and no obvious exit. It looked like an office, a storage area, a hotel hallway, and a dream you forgot all at once. In 2019, the image was paired online with a short piece of fiction about slipping out of normal reality and landing in endless empty rooms. That was enough. The back rooms became a shared internet location. What we know is fairly modest. The back rooms began as an image and a caption on an anonymous message board. The horror came less from monsters and more from atmosphere. Old carpet-buzzing lights, abandoned commercial space, and the feeling that a normal building had continued too far. Later versions added levels, creatures, rules, maps, and survival lore, but those were community additions. They were not part of a single original canon. What made the story strange is that people kept saying the place felt familiar, not because they had visited that exact room, but because late 20th century buildings often shared the same unsettling design language. Office parks, indoor malls, schools, basements, motels, and service corridors all created similar in-between spaces. The back rooms worked because it looked like nowhere specific and everywhere remembered. Over time, internet archivists reported tracing the original photograph to a mundane location connected to an old commercial interior, not another dimension. The available evidence suggests the image was probably an ordinary room, captured during a real-world renovation or listing context. But that did not weaken the myth. If anything, it made it stronger. The horror was never that the back rooms had to be supernatural. The horror was that the modern world had already built places that looked like it. What remains unclear is not whether an endless maze exists behind reality. There is no reliable evidence for that. The real mystery is cultural. Why did one bland room become a whole mythology? The simpler explanation may be that the internet recognized a shared memory, fluorescent silence, corporate emptiness, and spaces designed to be forgotten. The back rooms is folklore built from architecture. And like many digital legends, it began with a picture that felt less invented than remembered. Some internet legends begin with a photograph. Others begin with a place people claim once existed, but nobody can prove was ever there. That is the strange position of Polybius, the arcade cabinet that supposedly appeared in Portland, Oregon in the early 1980s. The story usually sounds like this. A mysterious arcade game shows up in a few local arcades. Players become obsessed. Some report headaches, nightmares, memory problems, or strange emotional effects. Then, according to the legend, unidentified officials visit the machines, collect data, and eventually the cabinets vanish. It is a perfect internet story because it combines three powerful ingredients: early video game culture, government paranoia, and a lost object that should have left evidence. What we know is narrower. Polybius is widely treated as an urban legend. No verified cabinet has been documented in the way major arcade machines usually were, through manufacturing records, surviving boards, advertisements, operator paperwork, or reliable contemporary reporting. The name became known through online arcade databases, forums, and retellings years after the period in which the machine was supposed to exist. From there, the legend spread into documentaries, games, videos, and retro culture. What people believed, or at least repeated, was more dramatic. Some versions connected Polybius to psychological experiments. Others suggested secret testing, hidden software, or a vanished developer. These details shift depending on the retelling, which is a warning sign in folklore. The more a story travels, the more it collects parts that make it feel complete. There are also ordinary reasons the legend may have felt believable. Early arcades really were dark, noisy, intense public spaces. Some games used flashing lights and fast motion. There were documented moral panics around video games, and a few unrelated arcade incidents became part of the wider atmosphere. If someone heard about players feeling sick, a machine being removed, or officials asking questions about an arcade, those fragments could merge into something larger over time. The available evidence does not support Polybius as a confirmed secret machine, but the story matters because it shows how the internet preserves a fear, even when the object itself is missing. Polybius is not just about a lost game, it is about a time when digital machines were new enough to feel unpredictable and arcades were strange enough to become haunted in memory. What remains unclear is the exact path the legend took before it hardened online. But the safer conclusion is simple. Polybius is probably not lost technology. It is a lost feeling disguised as a cabinet. Some strange places are not hidden in fiction and not remembered from arcades. Some are physically there, embedded in the street, carrying messages that feel like they belong to another network entirely. The Toynbee tiles are one of the rare internet mysteries where the artifact is real, but the meaning still resists a clean ending. Beginning in the late 20th century, unusual plaques started appearing in asphalt in cities across the United States and parts of South America. They were not normal street art. They were set into roads and crosswalks, often made from layered material that bonded with the pavement as traffic passed over them. Many carried variations of the same message. The Toynbee idea, the movie 2001, Resurrect the Dead Planet Jupiter. That sentence is the hook. It sounds like science fiction, philosophy, religion, and code, all compressed into one public fragment. Because the tiles were found in ordinary places, people encountered them like accidental transmissions. A commuter might step over one, a driver might pass one for years. Later, online communities and documentary researchers began gathering references, comparing wording and asking the obvious questions. Who made them? How were they installed? What did the message mean? What we know is that the tiles existed in many public locations and that their wording often pointed toward a small set of recurring ideas. The phrase appears to reference historian Arnold Toynbee and Stanley Kubrick's film, 2001, A Space Odyssey, though exactly how the creator connected those references is still debated. A documentary investigation proposed a possible source and explored a detailed theory, but public fascination remained partly because a final universally accepted explanation never arrived. What people added online was the aura of a secret map. Lists, photos, personal sightings, and theories turned the tiles into a distributed archive. Some believed they were the work of one person. Others suspected copycats, collaborators, or later imitators. The careful answer is that more than one thing may be true. There may have been an original creator, and there may also have been tiles influenced by the original pattern. The most likely interpretation is not a vast conspiracy. It is stranger in a quieter way, a private belief system turned into public infrastructure, repeated until it became urban folklore. What remains unverified is the complete authorship, the full motive, and the exact timeline of every tile. The Toynbee tiles matter because they show how the internet can turn scattered physical objects into a shared digital mystery. A street corner becomes an archive, a sentence becomes a doorway, and sometimes the real artifact is only the beginning of the story.